Welcome back to True Wealth Stories, the channel where we share raw, real journeys of people who built wealth against all odds. Today's story is about Ethan, a boy who grew up in poverty and turned his online hustle into $1 million business. This isn't fiction, it's the kind of story that proves what's possible when you never give up. Ethan was born into a world where money was always short, but bills were always plenty. His mom worked at a diner, pulling double shifts just to keep the lights on. His dad had left when Ethan was 7, and the little boy quickly learned that if he wanted something, even something small, like a new pair of shoes, he'd have to figure out a way to get it himself. His neighborhood was far from safe. On his walk to school, Ethan passed boarded-up houses, abandoned cars, and sometimes even drug deals happening right in front of him. Many of his classmates talked more about fast money than about college. For Ethan, school felt like a cage. Teachers constantly reminded students how poor their district was, how underfunded the system had become. Textbooks were outdated, computers were old and barely worked. Still, Ethan had one thing that many around him didn't: curiosity. At 12, Ethan's mom managed to buy a used desktop computer from a garage sale. It wasn't new, it wasn't fast, and half the keys on the keyboard were worn out, but for Ethan, it felt like a doorway to another universe. At first, he used it for games. But when the internet finally got connected, a slow, shaky Wi-Fi line his mom could barely afford, Ethan stumbled across something that lit a spark inside him. He found forums and YouTube videos of people talking about making money online. At first, he couldn't believe it. People actually get paid for this, sitting at a computer? He thought it was a scam, but he kept reading. Some people were selling products on eBay. Others were freelancing, writing articles, or designing logos. Some even made money just by uploading videos. The idea obsessed him. If strangers on the internet could do it, why not him? At 12, Ethan's mom managed to buy a used desktop computer from a garage sale. It wasn't new, it wasn't fast, and half the keys on the keyboard were worn out, but for Ethan, it felt like a doorway to another universe. At first, he used it for games. But when the internet finally got connected, a slow, shaky Wi-Fi line his mom could barely afford, Ethan stumbled across something that lit a spark inside him. He found forums and YouTube videos of people talking about making money online. At first, he couldn't believe it. People actually get paid for this, sitting at a computer? He thought it was a scam, but he kept reading. Some people were selling products on eBay. Others were freelancing, writing articles, or designing logos. Some even made money just by uploading videos. The idea obsessed him. If strangers on the internet could do it, why not him? But success didn't come easy. For every small win, Ethan faced 10 failures. One time, he sold an old game console that stopped working the moment the buyer turned it on. The angry review hurt his seller rating. Another time, he miscalculated shipping costs and ended up losing money. Worse yet, his mom worried. "Ethan," she said one night, "don't waste your time chasing schemes. You need to focus on school. Get good grades. Find a steady job one day." But Ethan couldn't stop. School didn't feel like a path out. The internet did. By the time Ethan turned 16, he was juggling school, part-time shifts at a grocery store, and his side hustles online. He barely slept, but every night he pushed himself to learn something new. He discovered freelance platforms like Fiverr and Upwork. At first, he didn't have any skills to sell, so he offered small gigs, writing short blog posts, editing product descriptions, even doing basic data entry. The pay was terrible, $5 here, $10 there, but it was money he earned without leaving his room. And slowly, Ethan began learning what clients really wanted. He started studying copywriting, digital marketing, and graphic design from free tutorials. Every dollar he made went back into improving his skills, buying cheap courses, upgrading his old computer, even investing in better internet. His friends laughed at him. "Bro, you're wasting your time. Nobody gets rich writing stupid blog posts." But Ethan stayed focused. Deep down, He believed that if he kept learning, kept pushing, one day the small wins would turn into something bigger. One summer night, when Ethan was 17, he got his first serious freelance client. A small online store needed product descriptions for hundreds of items. The pay? $300. To most people, that wasn't much. But to Ethan, it was a breakthrough. $300 for words he typed on his keyboard? It felt like magic. He stayed up for 3 nights straight, writing until his fingers ached. When he finally sent the project, the client left a glowing review. That review boosted his profile, and soon, more offers came in. For the first time in his life, Ethan felt like he had found a way out. But with growth came sacrifice. Ethan missed parties, stopped hanging out with friends, and spent weekends glued to his computer. His social life collapsed. There were moments he doubted himself. Nights when he wondered, am I wasting my youth chasing something that may never work? But then he would look at his mom, exhausted after her double shifts, and remind himself why he started. He wasn't just chasing money. He was chasing freedom. When Ethan graduated high school, he faced a crossroads. His grades weren't good enough for scholarships, and college was out of reach financially. His mom begged him to find a stable job. You can't gamble your whole life on the internet, Ethan. But Ethan knew that going back to stacking shelves at the grocery store would crush his spirit. He wanted to give online business a real chance. So he made a promise to himself, I will work harder than anyone else. I will treat this like my only shot. And with that, Ethan stepped into adulthood with nothing but a laptop, determination, and a dream. This was only the beginning of Ethan's journey. He had proven to himself that money could be made online. But turning side hustles into a real business, enough to lift himself and his mother out of poverty, would require more than just late nights and hustle. It would take strategy, discipline, and years of trial and error. In part 2 of this story, we'll follow Ethan as he dives deeper into the world of online work, faces devastating setbacks, and discovers the path that will eventually lead him to become a digital millionaire. In part 1, we met Ethan, a boy from Detroit who grew up in poverty. With an old second-hand computer and a stubborn belief that he could escape his circumstances, Ethan began hustling online. He sold items on eBay, started freelancing, and by the time he graduated high school, he had proof money could be made through the internet. But earning pocket change is one thing. Building a real career, and a life-changing income, is another. This is where Ethan's true journey begins. After graduation, Ethan worked full-time online. It wasn't glamorous. Most days, he sat at a small desk in the corner of his mom's apartment, surrounded by peeling wallpaper and the constant noise of neighbors arguing through thin walls. He spent hours scouring freelance platforms, bidding on jobs that sometimes paid less than minimum wage. He wrote endless blog posts for small websites, designed basic logos, and transcribed audio files until his ears rang. At the end of some weeks, he barely made $150. It wasn't enough to live independently. His mom begged him to apply for a real job, but Ethan refused. He told her, "Mom, this is my real job. It just doesn't look like it yet." By the time Ethan was 19, he was burned out. His days blended together: wake up, stare at the screen, grind until midnight. His eyes hurt, his back ached, and he felt like he was working harder than anyone but still staying broke. One night, after a client ghosted him without paying for a big project, Ethan slammed his laptop shut in frustration. He felt like a fool. Maybe everyone else was right. Maybe the internet was a dead end. For 3 days, he didn't touch his computer. He walked around the neighborhood, thinking about quitting, but then he remembered the feeling he had when he made his first $12 online as a teenager. The rush of possibility. The sense that he had control over his own future. That memory pulled him back. Ethan realized something crucial: he wasn't making progress because his skills weren't strong enough. He was competing at the bottom, doing low-level jobs that anyone could do. So he made a new plan. Instead of chasing every small gig, he would dedicate serious time to building real skills. He dove into copywriting, learning how words could sell products. He studied digital marketing, search engine optimization, and social media strategies. Every free tutorial on YouTube, every cheap online course he could afford, he devoured it. And slowly, his work improved. His proposals to clients became sharper. His writing began to sound persuasive, not just functional. Within 6 months, he landed his first $1,000 project, writing sales pages for a small e-commerce brand. It felt like winning the lottery. With better skills came better clients. Ethan raised his rates. He stopped saying yes to every $5 gig and started chasing bigger opportunities. At 20, he was making around $3,000 a month, not millionaire money, but more than his mom ever made waiting tables. He finally moved them out of the noisy apartment and into a modest rental in a safer neighborhood. For his mom, it felt like a miracle. For Ethan, it was just the beginning. Ethan knew freelancing was limited. He was still trading time for money. If he stopped working, the income stopped too. So he began experimenting with online businesses. He started a blog, tried affiliate marketing, launched a small Shopify store selling fitness gear. Most of these ventures failed. He lost money on ads, struggled with website design, and often felt overwhelmed. But each failure taught him something. He learned how to build a brand, how to market products, how to analyze data. Then came his breakthrough idea, helping small businesses grow their online presence. He realized that while he was learning marketing, thousands of local businesses were falling behind. They needed websites, social media, email campaigns, but they didn't know how to do it. At 21, Ethan officially launched his own small digital marketing agency. Running an agency wasn't easy. Ethan was still just one guy with a laptop. He did everything: sales calls, writing content, designing graphics, running ads. He worked 16-hour days, surviving on coffee and instant noodles. His first clients were tiny: a barber shop, a local bakery, a used car dealer. They paid little, complained often, and sometimes didn't pay at all. But Ethan refused to quit. He knew that every skill, every piece of experience, was building his foundation. Slowly, his reputation grew. The barber shop got new customers. The bakery doubled its orders after a Facebook campaign Ethan ran. Word spread. By 22, his agency was pulling in $10,000 a month. But success was never smooth. Ethan hired his first freelancer to help with design. The guy disappeared in the middle of a big project, leaving Ethan scrambling to finish everything himself. Another time, a big client canceled a contract, wiping out half his monthly income. The stress was crushing. Ethan often questioned whether he was cut out for this. Nights were sleepless, days were endless, and sometimes he thought about walking away. But every time he considered quitting, he remembered why he started: to escape poverty, to give his mom a better life, to prove that he could build something from nothing. That thought kept him moving forward. At 23, Ethan landed his first major client, a regional clothing brand. They signed a 6-month contract worth $60,000. It was more money than Ethan had ever seen in his life. He upgraded his equipment, hired a small remote team, and finally felt like a true business owner. From there, everything began snowballing. Bigger clients came in, his team grew, and his agency became known for delivering results. By 24, Ethan wasn't just surviving. He was thriving. Ethan's journey was far from over. He had built himself up from low-paying gigs to running a small but growing digital agency. But reaching millionaire status would require more than just grinding. He would need to scale, to think bigger, and to transform not just his business but also his mindset. In Part 3, we'll see how Ethan turns his struggling agency into a thriving enterprise, makes his first $1 million online, and discovers what true wealth really means. In Part 1, Ethan discovered the internet as his escape from poverty and began hustling online. In Part 2, he built skills, started freelancing, and eventually launched a small digital agency. Now, in this final chapter, Ethan faces the biggest challenge of all: scaling his business, achieving financial freedom, and learning what true wealth really means. By the time Ethan turned 24, his agency was making more money than he had ever dreamed possible. But instead of celebrating, he felt restless. He realized that although he had escaped poverty, he was still chained to his business. He worked long hours, managed a small team, and carried all the stress himself. If he stopped working, everything would collapse. One night, he sat down and asked himself, do I want to build a job, or do I want to build a company? That question changed everything. Ethan began studying business systems and leadership. He learned how to delegate, how to create processes, and how to trust his team. Instead of trying to do everything, he focused on the big picture, finding clients, building relationships, and creating strategies. He hired talented freelancers for design, advertising, and copywriting. Slowly, his role shifted from worker to leader. It wasn't easy. Letting go of control scared him. At first, mistakes happened. Projects weren't perfect. Clients complained, but Ethan realized that if he wanted to scale, he had to accept short-term chaos for long-term growth. Within a year, his agency doubled in revenue. At 26, Ethan's agency crossed the $1 million revenue milestone. The moment he saw the numbers on his financial report, he froze. Tears filled his eyes. He remembered the nights he went to bed hungry, the broken sneakers he wore as a kid, the arguments his mom had with landlords over late rent. And now, he had built a 7-figure business from nothing but a laptop and determination. The first thing he did was buy his mom a house. When he handed her the keys, she cried in disbelief. "Ethan, you did it." But Ethan shook his head. "No, Mom. We did it. You gave me everything, even when we had nothing." For Ethan, the money was life-changing. But as the months went by, he realized that wealth wasn't just about numbers in a bank account. True wealth was freedom, freedom to wake up without fear of eviction notices. Freedom to spend time with his mom instead of working double shifts. Freedom to choose clients, projects, and even take days off. And most importantly, wealth was about impact. Ethan started mentoring other young people from poor neighborhoods, teaching them how to build skills and find online opportunities. He wanted them to see what he once thought was impossible, that the internet could be a lifeline. When asked about his journey, Ethan always shares the same lessons: skills are the foundation. Without strong, valuable skills, no online hustle lasts. Consistency beats talent. Ethan wasn't the smartest, but he was relentless. Failure is tuition. Every lost dollar, every mistake, was a lesson he couldn't have learned otherwise. Think long-term. Hustles are temporary, systems build empires. True wealth isn't money, it's freedom. Ethan's journey from poverty to millionaire wasn't quick, easy, or magical. It was a grind, years of failures, sleepless nights, and small steps forward. But he proved something powerful, that no matter where you start, no matter how little you have, if you are willing to learn, work, and never quit, you can change your future. And that is the essence of true wealth. Ethan's journey proves one powerful truth: true wealth isn't just money, it's freedom. Freedom to choose your future, take care of your loved ones, and impact others. If his story inspired you, hit the like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to True Wealth Stories for more real success stories. Your journey could be next.